Hello everyone! The other day, we posted a video about creatures that existed on Earth before the dinosaurs and received a lot of positive feedback. It seems like many people are interested in the Devonian, Carboniferous, Silurian, and Permian periods. Well, we're a channel that responds to viewer requests. Today, we'll go back in time and experience the Devonian period for a bit. Are you ready? If you are, then hop on to the time machine. Hundreds of millions of years ago on Earth. Well, the time machine is now ready to depart for a journey into the past. Everyone, please wear an oxygen mask. The atmosphere on Earth during the Devonian period was very different from the atmosphere we are used to. The oxygen levels were about 16 to 17% lower, while carbon dioxide was about 6% higher than today. Breathing in this environment would be very dangerous for modern people. Is everyone ready? Let's begin. The Devonian period began about 419 million years ago and ended about 358 million years ago. Before that was the Silurian, followed by the Carboniferous period. During this era, dinosaurs and other well-known prehistoric creatures did not exist. But don't worry, I promise you it's still going to be exciting. Let's start with the perspective from far, far away. Space. Take a peek out of the ship's round window. The round sphere rotating down there, in yellow, blue and green, is our mother, the Earth. Did you notice that white glaciers are nowhere to be seen? During the Devonian, almost anywhere on Earth's surface was tropical, with average annual temperatures ranging from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, both at the poles and the equator. It looks like we won't have to worry about freezing for now. Before we head to the Earth's surface, let's orbit around and take a closer look at Earth. Do you see the giant continent that occupies most of the southern hemisphere? That is Gondwana supercontinent. It took about 550 million years to form, from the Ediacaran to Cambrian periods. The slightly smaller continent on the equator is Euramerica, which is made from the two continents of Laurentia and Baltica. The small landmasses floating next to it are Serbia, Kazakhstania, and China. Millions of years after this, in the Carboniferous period, these continents started to move toward each other and merge. Eventually, it forms a single land, the supercontinent Pangaea, and is surrounded by a huge ocean called Panthalassa. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Kingdom of the Sea. Now, everyone, please buckle your seatbelts as we start descending. Let's start observing the ocean instead of the land. Probably the best to start from the warm, shallow ocean, which is just below the equator on the coast of the Euramerican continent. Oh, please note that feeding animals is strictly prohibited, because modern food would not be digestible by them. We shall go down to the bottom of the sea. Look at that amazing forest of corals. Today, significantly fewer corals are found in our world. And this twig is not a tree growing in the water, but an organism classified as a heterellids. Believe it or not, they are animals, not plants. They are colonial organisms similar to modern sponges, but they were already completely extinct by the Carboniferous period. And here you'll see reefs which look like coral reefs. However, Devonian reefs were not made up of corals, but of cyanobacteria and stromatoporoida, which are believed to have originated from sponges. For several million years, they tried their best. Now look at that! A gigantic creature is crawling the slope of the reef. This 2.5 meter long monster is one of the largest eye-catching sea scorpions that existed during the Devonian period, also known as the Jekyllopterus renanae. This is a distant relative of Pterygotus, another monstrous creature that intimidated trilobites and primitive fishes during the Silurian. By the way, speaking of fish, have you noticed that they're everywhere? This is not strange at all. The Devonian period is also known as the Age of Fishes. Although most fish that existed were primitive and jawless during the Cambrian period, there were already signs that more evolved fish with jaws were supplanting them. This strange, eel-like creature, a fish with no jaws, is called Pituriaspida. It is one of the longest surviving armored fish species that thrived in the Ordovician period. And this 2-meter long fish is the Cladocellake, a distant relative of modern-day sharks. In the Devonian, there were many giant fish that would make any fisherman ecstatic if they could catch it. For example, the giant fish swimming peacefully in the back is a Rhizodontida fish, reaching a maximum of 7 meters. Oh, and over there is Dunkleosteus. Oh no, wait a minute. It looks like it's heading towards us. Dunkleosteus is a class of large group of fish known as the Placodermi, once called armored fish. During the Devonian period, they were absolutely the king of the sea. Who the heck can face a 6-meter long, 1-ton beast in hard armor? It's probably not even possible for human beings. So, I think it's time for us to leave now. Because if by any chance Dunkleosteus swallows us, scientists today would be scratching their heads, wondering why there are traces of modern Homo sapiens in the Devonian period. Now then, let's say goodbye to the sea hunters for now, and take a look next at the land and the oldest forest on Earth. Fern Forest. Phew! We managed to escape successfully. There's no way Dunkleosteus can chase after us here. In the early stages of Devonian, the land were empty and desolate, but life slowly but surely covered the ground. The first ever forests are thought to have appeared in northern Euramerica, but they were more like vast tropical swamps than forests. Yet, plants rapidly reproduced, and numerous new embryophyte emerged over time. This phenomenon is known as the Devonian explosion, analogous to the Cambrian explosion. Feel free to go outside and explore the forest, but please be careful. Did you notice that this plant has neither flower nor fruits? The flowering plants that we're familiar with do not appear until way later in history. The majority of the plants you see now belong to the ferns, or the Equisetum hyemale, or the Lycopodium clavatum. Because they reproduce mainly by spores, many spores are floating around in the air. You can see tiny insects and other arthropods crawl and fly around between plants. The appearance of insects is not so different from modern insects. Giant insects, such as the 2-meter-long polypod Arthropleura, appear in the Carboniferous, so there is no need to be afraid of them at the moment. By the way, where are higher animals? Is it possible to see any? There doesn't seem to be many, as you can see. There are no singing birds or howling wolves in this forest. It is still too early in history for that. Even reptiles don't exist, so no snakes will cross in front of you. As a matter of fact, the reason plants were able to reproduce and evolve so rapidly was because of the lack of large animals that feed on them now. Unlike the marine world, Devonian terrestrial plants had few nemesis. However, there are some interesting stories in the animal world that I would like to share. Let's approach that river, which leads to the ocean. Do you see a strange creature, about 1.5 meters long, flapping its tiny limbs in the shallows? This is one of the oldest amphibians, called Lichtiostiga. Also, perhaps it is the first chordate to move onto the land successfully. However, they were still firmly attached to the water environment, so much more water dependent than modern frogs. Furthermore, The limbs were of little use on land. It was often used to paddle around the water. Still, in addition to gills, they were equipped with lungs. Eventually, the distant descendants of Lichtiostiga would completely sever their ties to their mother sea and move out onto the land in earnest. But we'll save that for another day. So, this concludes our trip to the Devonian. Now, everyone, let's get back to modern times. Thank you for viewing till the end. Those who wish may take a photo with Lichtiostiga. However, please note that their teeth are not just a simple decoration. Additionally, the world you saw today will soon completely disappear. After the mass extinction during Devonian, followed by a new era, the Carboniferous period, the Earth has transformed into a completely different world. We will introduce you in regards to that during our next adventure. If this episode is well received, we will happily prepare a sequel. So please just like this video or comment that you want a sequel if you'd like to know the next adventure. Now it's time to say goodbye. We will continue to present exciting episodes, so please come back and visit us. See you next time. Goodbye.